Have the opportunity to talk to you today. I'm going to talk to you about a topic I'm sure everybody hears a lot about these days. It's one of the leading topics on many agendas right now in terms of income inequality. And I'm going to take a very, not surprising, economic approach to thinking about it. And I'm going to focus some on the consequences, but probably more on a perspective that I've developed over time on what's been going on and try to tie it into sort of broader economic phenomena. Hopefully when you leave here, you'll actually realize that it's probably a more general phenomena and a broader phenomenon than you might have thought coming in, but maybe you'll also think about it slightly differently than the way when you came. So I'm actually going to start at a somewhat different place than most people when they start talking about inequality. I'm actually going to look at inequality measured in one specific dimension, which is across people with different levels of schooling. And so this is a picture of the premium, that is the extra earnings on average somebody has if they have a college degree, that is a bachelor's degree, that's the red line, or a graduate degree, which is the green line. And economists really got focused in on what we call the returns to schooling or returns to education back in the 1960s with people like Gary Becker, Jacob Mincer, and those guys working on exactly this question: how much more do you earn if you have more schooling? And they found that the premium for a college degree was about 40% over a high school graduate, and a premium for having a graduate degree was about 60% over a college graduate. If you follow what happened over time, we actually saw that over the 1970s, there was a decline in those premiums. That is, the extra earnings you got for being a college graduate or a graduate school graduate actually declined, so that it reached its low right about 1980. 1979 or 1980 was about the low. The premium from a college degree had gone from about 40% down to the low 20s. Okay? And the premium for a graduate degree declined from 60% to the mid-40s. There was an economist from Harvard at the time, Richard Freeman, who wrote a well-known book called The Overeducated American, talking about how Americans have become overeducated. And the evidence, one of the pieces of evidence he used, that there was a declining premium for having a college degree. It wasn't worth what it once was in terms of the extra earning power you gain. As soon as he wrote the book, of course, things turned around, and he joins a lot of famous people in history who've had the ability to do that. And from the late 1970s until the early 2000s, the premium for a college degree gradually rose until it got up into the mid-70s. So not only recovered all of its decline, but it was more than almost like triple what it was in the late 70s. So there's been this enormous expansion in the premium for a college degree. Premium for a graduate degree did a very similar path, obviously in proportionate terms, going from the mid-40s up to like 140%. And in fact, you can see these two stories really are the same story. If I index them, sort of measure them relative, sort of proportional to what they were, you can see they basically follow the same pattern. So there's been this strong increase in inequality across education levels that's been happening since about 1980. One thing to note on this picture, however, is that this is not a story of what's happened in the last decade. It's become a lot more news in the last decade, but most of what's happened on inequality actually happened much earlier. What we've seen recently is kind of an add-on, if anything, to what we saw earlier. It also is a very different perspective on inequality, because one way to think about it is, well, college graduates who always earned more than high school graduates now earn even more. But as an economist, what else does this picture tell you? It tells you that the premium out there, what the market is willing to pay for more educated, more skilled individuals, is higher today than it's been in the past. The return to investing in skills is higher now than it's been, higher than it was in the 60s, much higher than it was in the 70s, and really at kind of historically high levels, certainly for the last, almost the last century. That is, we have a rising premium on education, and I'll show you in a minute other skills. And what